Hi, thank you for joining us for Renesting Baby Wildlife. We are going to go over everything that involves renesting, why we renest, how we renest, and what goes wrong with renesting. And at the end, we will post this on our YouTube channel for you to be able to review it, share it, and watch it again. So let's start off with why we renest. Often we renest because the orphans that have been displaced from their nest are displaced because of man-made situations. We've cut a tree, the nest has been disturbed. We've found it under our deck while we're doing some renovations. So they're not really orphans. They're perfectly fine. Parents are looking after them, so we're going to reunite them with their parents. Um, Parents know best. They know how to raise their offspring the best. As humans, we are limited in our ability to teach them how to survive in the wild, no matter how great of a rehabilitation facility you are participating with. So it's always best to reunite them. Survivability is best for wildlife when they are with their parents. Rehab centers do not guarantee survival for the species. We try our best, we do our best, but there are limitations to our rehabilitation facilities. We typically are inundated in the spring and summer months with wildlife, orphaned wildlife. So it is best to reunite them so that we can focus on the patients that truly do need medical care and supportive human care. And it is a myth that parents will reject their babies once they've been in human care. That has not been the truth. We have been able to reunite orphans up to 5 to 7 days after they've been in human care. Wild parents are very dedicated to their offspring, just as we are as humans. So if you are in your backyard, in a park, in a public space, how do you know to renest or rescue the baby that you found? Did one of these following situations occur? Often here in South Florida, there can be strong winds, either with hurricanes, obviously, but just sometimes some strong winds come through with our summer rain showers, and they will disturb often the first time nests. You know, mothers and fathers making their first nests are not always perfectionists at it. They often can blow over easily. If you are tree trimming and you discover a nest after you've got the tree, those are perfect candidates for renesting. Um, if you are cleaning your attic, redoing your roof, changing your deck, often you will find some around the spring or summer months. A lot of people will find makeshift nests in those areas. They are great den spots for some of our denners, like squirrels, raccoons, foxes. Those are all perfect candidates to be reunited with their parents. If an old structure has been torn down, it's been abandoned, those are perfect places for wildlife to now move in. Once the humans have moved out of those areas, wildlife is happy to move in, and it's a safe structure away from the weather, the elements, the rain. So often when people are taking down a barn, a shed, they will find wildlife living there. It's always best to assume um, the nest has been taken care of. If you see the babies are healthy, it's best to assume that the nest has not been abandoned by the parents. If you do see a nest has been abandoned, it's not been in good condition, it's kind of falling apart, those might be situations where the baby is in need of some intervention to help them. If you have been noticing a mom coming in and out of the den for a while, and then suddenly she's no longer present. You see the baby's coming out more and more, becoming very vocal. That might be a situation where you do need to intervene and help those orphaned babies. So a great way to determine if this is an animal that needs to be brought in is to observe it from a distance. Sometimes that may be hard. This might be in your backyard. You're walking in through your front door, your back door. Your pets are coming in and out, but it's best to observe wildlife always from a distance, especially if you are trying to wait for mom to come back to reclaim her babies. Your presence, your dog's presence, your children's presence may disrupt her from returning to her nest and reuniting with her babies. So it's important to know that are some of the natural history of our wildlife here in South Florida or wherever you are in the United States or globally. Know if these are animals that den, if these are nest animals that build nests, or are these like our Virginia opossums? They just kind of roam around, sleep here for a day, and then move on. Many times, feeding activities are very limited. Like the marsh rabbits down here, mother will feed her babies only 2 times in a day, and as they develop, it'll go down to 1 time a day. So a lot of people will assume the babies are orphaned because they haven't seen mother in many hours, but she's out foraging or hiding nearby, and she's just waiting for you to move on to return. If the species are, it's good to know if the species is nocturnal, diurnal, or crepuscular. And that just simply means, are they daytime animals, nighttime animals, or kind of sunset, sunrise? For the majority of our owls, they are, for the large majority, nocturnal, so they are active in the evening. But the exception to the rule would be for us down here in South Florida, the burrowing owl. They are dominantly bug eaters, so they are more sunset, sunrise. So it's quite normal to see burrowing owls during the daytime. Whereas a European screech owl is more of a cavity dweller. You are less likely to reunite that baby with its parents during the daytime. That would be something that you would have to watch overnight. It's good to know how long the baby has been alone. If it's something that you can monitor, if you can keep an eye on the tree, keep an eye on the den. You might notice mom or dad coming in and out, or not at all. It is a great sign for all babies is to see if there's any droppings, if there's any fresh feces when it comes to birds. That means somebody is feeding those babies, and fresh feces is a great sign that they're being looked after. If you are trying to reunite babies, it's always good to know the original site of the nest or the den. So watch for, if there are birds, watch for a lot of activity, look for the nest, but we'll go over the different kinds of nests. And keep in mind, mammal parents often have many different nests. That includes the raccoon. A female raccoon can have up to 100 different dens in one neighborhood. So oftentimes what happens is as the babies grow or are disturbed, mom will one by one take all her babies to a new site. If she is disturbed along that way, along that path from one den to the new den, from old den to new den, she might drop a baby and run. So the den might be in between. But she will more often than not return to that area looking for her dropped baby. So leads us to a very important question. The first question is the animal sick or hurt? If you approach the animal, do you see any bleeding? Do you see any bug bites, ants, ticks, fleas? Do you see any scrapes or bruising? If it's a mammal, do you see it salivating? Is it holding its head up? Is it vocalizing? most babies will be begging for food. If it is a baby mammal with its eyes closed, it might be a little more sedentary, but it will be active. You will notice it that it is still sprightly and looking for comfort, calling for its mother. If you do find an animal in any of these situations, either bleeding, bruise, obvious injuries, parasites, bugs on it, things like that, just immediately assume it needs help and call us at the South Florida Wildlife Center or your local rehab facility. If you are in the South Florida area, there are areas that you can keep, it's important to keep that baby warm overnight. And Coral Springs Animal Hospital in Coral Springs is a good area to drop those babies off. But if you did answer no to the previous questions, you can now ask yourself, is this a hatchling, a neonate? What stage of a baby bird is this? Baby birds go through different stages, just like all other babies. When they are hatchlings, so fresh out of the egg, they don't have any feathers. They don't have any way to thermoregulate, to keep warm. So they're, for the most part, naked with a little bit of fuzz down all over them. Mom will sit on them, sit next to them, sit with them to keep them warm. When it comes to baby mammals, they will be, for the most part, hairless and also unable to thermoregulate. So mom will often stay very, very close to them. For both of those situations, eyes will be shut. And they're the most vulnerable stage. They really need to stay warm. And it's really, really best at this stage that they do stay with mom. Mom is the only one who can really do the round the clock feedings for them and really give them the nutritional value needed to develop the building blocks to grow into healthy adults. A nestling or a baby, now a little bit more developed. There is a bit of, for a bird, there's a bit of that fuzz, that downy fuzz. You start seeing a few developing feathers coming in. For a baby mammal, you're starting to see kind of very, very short fur. They're becoming a little bit more mobile. Maybe the eyes are partially open, one is partially open. They're all becoming a lot more vocal and able to, like human babies, stabilize their head, and they're less likely to flop their heads around. Still, at this stage, they are needing to be kept warm, either a heating pad under their container that they're being held in, or an incubator if you are not going to be able to renest them. But if you are able to renest them, a heating element can be provided, like a hot water bottle, or just if you're putting them right back with everybody else, the nest itself can insulate them and keep them warm. When it comes to the later stages, now this is a very important stage. For birds, the fledgling stage is when they look like a small version of their parents. They are fully feathered, they're vocal, they are slightly smaller than their parents, but not by much. They still might have a couple of little fuzzy little down feathers coming off their heads, but for the most part, they do look a lot like the adults. Juvenile mammals will look like a smaller version of the adults. Both of these animals still need a lot of support from their parents. What they do for both mammals and birds is that they follow their parents around. Fledglings will hop down from their nest onto the ground, and then they're going to hop, hop, hop around, learning to fly. They're going to hop to a low shrub, a higher shrub, the first branch of a tree, and then they'll be able to follow the parents around, learning how to forage and fly appropriately. Always begging from their parents and always very vocal. Same thing for mammals. They will emerge from their dens and just follow parents around, staying always vigilant, close to their parents, but exploring the world around them and definitely learning from their parents how to forage. Both of these stages can be reunited with their parents. So you can see the images here. The first one in our top left is one of those hatchling baby birds. You can see it is very naked, very vulnerable. Not a lot of material to keep him warm, so he really needs that support from the parents. And then if you see in the third image to the top, you see a baby squirrel. Same thing, no fur, just naked, very vulnerable. Eyes on all of them are eyes closed, that first row. And you'll see in the second row a little bit more mature when it comes to the birds. They're starting to develop some feathers, some true feathers, but still very vulnerable with not being able to thermal regulate. And then you see on the bottom area, the bottom third row are our juveniles. These guys are starting to really develop their species characteristics, flying around, becoming more vocal, following their parents, truly becoming their own person. So let's say you're going to renest, and you don't know exactly where the nest is, or you do know, but it's been destroyed and you can't salvage it. What could you do? Well, first, it really depends on what kind of nest we are talking about. Birds use a variety of nests, mammals use a variety of dens. It's really important to know your natural history. If you're unsure, you can always go to good old Google and look it up or contact us. We're happy to guide you. Or you can refer to this PowerPoint presentation. So some of the items that are able to be used for renesting are clean plastic jug, wicker baskets, for example, like the Easter baskets you get, or decorative baskets you use around the house. Laundry baskets, wax-coated disposable pet carriers make good temporary dens for mammals. Natural materials, if you are crafty and you are good at working things out, natural materials make great insulation for wildlife. And also, you know, the easiest thing to find these days with Amazon is cardboard boxes. So we're going to start off with our cup nesters. Cup nesters are exactly what they sound like. They are birds that utilize a nest, this kind of the shape of the cup. They can be varying from the size of a small little espresso cup to about the size of a dinner plate. Common cup nesters that we see here at the South Florida Wildlife Center are mockingbirds, grackles, blue jays, orioles, cardinals, doves, things like that. They make nests that are perfectly sized for their babies. They are dense enough to keep them warm. The sides of it are low enough that the babies are able to poop over the edges. And they're built so that they can keep everybody nice and warm and compact. They may look small, but it's designed that way. Second most popular nests are the cavity nesters. Common cavity nesters include the woodpeckers, all of the woodpeckers, purple martins, the non-native European starlings, house sparrows. Some of our owls are cavity nesters, and squirrels. Squirrels can utilize cavity nests, or also some nests built of leaves, twigs, and other organic material. So when it comes to nests, it's important if you are going to use if you're either going to replace a fallen nest or use a synthetic nest, an artificial nest, it's always good to make sure that there is natural substrate that is in there if you're going to use an artificial one. And you must always position it correctly. So that means upright, not to the side, not falling down. You want to place it high enough so that you want the lip of the nest to be high enough that the bird can poop over the edge, because birds will stick their cloaca, their butt, over the edge of the nest and poop out of the nest. So you want to make sure that they're going to do that, so it keeps the nest clean. You want to make sure that when you place the nest in the tree, that it is a secured nest attached to the structure. It's not in the direct sunlight. It is close as possible and in the same alignment as the original nest. And that it's high enough in the tree that no predators can easily access it. And what I mean easily access it is it would just kind of not be in the line of vision of, let's say, neighborhood cats, neighborhood raccoons, things like that. Predation is normal in wildlife, but we're going to try to, just like mother would, try to reduce the amount of predation on our nest. And we want to make sure that the temporary nest, if you were going to use a temporary nest, man-made nest, that it has drainage on the bottom so that when the rain comes, the rain can drip through the bottom and it doesn't become kind of flooded inside that nest. When it comes to cavity dwelling animals, you want to make sure that you are using a wooden box or a plastic box for the case of woodpeckers or European starlings. You want to place that wooden box with its hole facing away from the tree. It must be secured to the solid structure close to the original location and high enough, once again, for predators not to easily access it. You want to always make sure that your temporary or man-made nest always has some natural material on the bottom, but never a towel, never anything man-made. So natural fibers such as leaves, twigs, moss, lichens, things like that. That will insulate the babies best. Towels will just absorb the filth of it all. And you want to make sure that you position it straight, upright, and once again, drainage holes at the bottom. So here are, this is a very popular nest that we use. You can see the wooden box that you see on the far left of your screen. That is a fantastic box that we use to renest squirrels, owls, things like that. The hole is positioned properly that they can come in. There's one exit, one entrance, one exit. Owls take, your Eastern Creek owls take to it very well. We have a high success rate. When we are trying to locate renest mammals, we want to make sure that we have an idea of where mom is, if possible. While you're gathering your materials, you always keep baby warm. But you keep an eye out for mom. You are going to, when you are renesting things like raccoons, squirrels, things like that, you want to make sure that that hole on the front of your box is large enough for mom to at least be able to stick her hand in and grab her baby if she's going to relocate them. Or if she's going to stay in there, she's able to pass her whole body in, like that previous box for the European screech owls. When it comes to renesting raccoons, mom is not going to use the temporary den that you are providing. What she is going to do is find her babies in that temporary den, stick her hand or her head in there, make sure that those are her babies, they're fine, and then one by one, she's going to take them to her new den location. A great way for mom to find her babies is to place some sounds. So for squirrels, you would play the sound of a baby squirrel in distress. It's a video easily found on YouTube. You just type in baby squirrel in distress. For raccoons, same thing. You can use a baby raccoon in distress call. You can also, the towels the babies were resting in the box before you renested them, place it outside the box. This way, when mom walks by looking for her babies, she'll get a smell of them and know precisely where they are. Because this foreign item of the box that you're presenting to her, she's never seen it before, and it's not obvious to her that they're in there if they're not very vocal. Squirrels are a common animal to renest. They are both cavity nesters and den nesters. They live both in natural places and man-made places. So that's anything from our attics, holes in our ceilings, to our trees, our bush, or if you have a high enough hedge, they'll nest in there. Okay, so let's see. While you are trying to renest, kind of circles back to the raccoon. While we are trying to renest our baby raccoons, while you're collecting all your material, always make sure that your babies are kept warm. You can use a hand warmer that you would use in the wintertime. You just open it up, bundle it up in a little towel, and put that under your babies. They will be magnetically drawn to it, kind of snuggle around it and keep warm. So for mother raccoons, you would renest a baby raccoon by first keeping your babies warm. Second, you would make sure that your babies are healthy and that nobody has trapped a mother raccoon recently. While you're getting that information, just make sure your babies are kept warm. You can start making your makeshift den. So that would mean you would grab a box, put some holes in it, so breathing holes, and you would make about a fist-size hole to a kind of a dessert plate size hole in the front of it, leaving a flap so you don't completely remove the cardboard. So you would cut the hole about 3/4 of the way so that mom can stick her hand in there. But the flap stays down so the babies don't come out. You would put some natural fibers in there, leaves, hay, twigs, things like, or not twigs, soft natural fibers. So leaf, hay, some moss. You could put that in there. And make sure, once again, some drainage holes at the bottom just in case it does rain. Try to secure that to the ground. Make sure it's not going to fall over easily when you put it outside. It should be out of the way of direct sunlight and nearest to the spot where you found the baby, the safest area nearest the location where you found the baby. And make sure that you keep your dogs and cats, children, everybody indoors as much as possible during the renesting time. You want to place them in this makeshift box, make sure that they are closed in there, and the only entrance and exit now is that 3/4 of the way hole you punched in. You're going to take that towel that they were on while you were keeping them warm, while you were building this whole contraption. You're going to take that towel and lay it on the front of your renest box. This smell indicates to mom that her babies are in that box. She'll quickly be attracted to it and retrieve her babies. If the babies are larger, about a juvenile cat size, about this big, you will not be able to use this technique. They are just going to be too rambunctious and they're just going to punch themselves out of that little door. So what you can do is you can use a laundry basket, flip it upside down, put a rock over it, and leave it that way. Mom is strong enough to be able to flip that rock off and get her babies. Nothing's holding that mom back. So this works best because raccoons are den nesters. So that box, that makeshift box you create is very similar to what they would use. See in the image there, there's just one exit, one entrance, that hole going in. Same way with the box. That's a photo of the little box that you would create. It has some breathing holes and a door that is about 3/4 of the way cut open. A little bit more than 3/4. For an older raccoon, about juvenile size, just Place them in an upside down basket with a large rock on top. If this is not your property, maybe it is near your backyard, your alleyway, make sure you leave a little sign if your neighbors are going to see it, just so that they know your intention. This is a sign that we've come up with. That what you are doing is trying to reunite those babies and not just putting some babies in a box. So now what? What do we do once we try to reunite these babies with the birds? We put them in a nest or a temporary nest, put it in a tree. With the squirrels, we try to reunite them with their parents by playing vocalizations. And with the raccoons, we put them in some boxes overnight. So we've done this, and now it's a waiting game. Parents must feel safe to approach their nest. So this is always the least amount of human interaction, the least amount of humans passing by, but also car traffic, our noise, our radios, our cell phones, things like that, but also our pets. Our pets can be huge deterrents to wildlife. We've all known that dog that's chased squirrels. We all know that cat that goes after birds. So it's quite important to make sure you try to keep those animals indoor as much as possible. Stay calm, stay quiet. Don't go in and out checking every couple of minutes. Try to give it a few hours. As long as you know you've put them in a safe place, they should be fine. Try not to, if this is a public area, try not to park too close to the area. The car moving in and out might deter mom from coming back. And just don't hesitate. Give mom a chance to come back. If you're ever nervous about it, just give us a call. So what if the babies are still there? You've done everything, you've been instructed to do. But what do you do if mom is still there? Mom hasn't come by, you're watching that nest and nobody sat on that nest. Or the raccoons, if you wake up in the morning, the babies are still in that box and nobody's come by. And sometimes even when it comes to mammals, you'll see mom has come back for one and she's left another one, or she's come back for three and left one behind. What do you do? So you're always, best bet is all to call us to start off with a phone call to us. But look them over. Are they healthy? Are they still active, making sounds, moving around? Are they still warm? Are there bugs now? Did ants attack the box? Things like that. If they're not looking well, bring them in to your local rehab facility. That they do need medical treatment. But all those situations are species specific, so just call your local rehabber. This process can take up to 5 days, but like I said, we have been successful up to 7 days after. They may need some supplemental feeding in that in-between time, so it's always best to contact a wildlife hospital, make sure that they are getting the feeding that is appropriate to that species, make sure they look well and hydrated. And if you're here down in the South Florida area, you can call us at 954-524-4302 for advice or best times to bring them in. You can obviously get some fancy monitoring gear, but a lot of these things are a little excessive for our everyday little backyard renesting. But maybe a camera with a high zoom on it could work well. Okay, well, I hope that answered a lot of your questions about renesting. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and I hope if you have any questions, you contact us, or you can email us at info@southfloridawildlifecenter.org. Thank you.